with Tantra there is always the problem or a matter that you do need very good instructions from somebody who knows what, from some teacher who knows what she or he is talking about. And you need to understand what these instructions are, and why are you doing it, what you're doing, and why. So that's already quite a bit of all kinds of requirements before you can do Vajrayana practice. Yeah, and especially if it's complex practice like removing or healing trauma, it can be approached very simply, very secularly. But if you have a tantric approach to that, there's all kinds of things that you need to know about and understand to do the practice effectively. That's always the case with Tantra. And that's also why Tantra can be very fast. If these how do you say, boxes are not checked, then it will be as slow as everything else. But if you have the boxes checked, then it can be very fast. Whether healing trauma or just removing dualistic ignorance. Yeah, but Vajrayana can also be very slow. But it has the potential to be very, very fast and very effective.
So if you're on the slow version, what's that? What's going on there? Because I understood it like Vajrayana is the fast vehicle, and either you do it fast or you go home. Like, what's involved with taking it slow? How does that work?
Are you purposefully? Are you kind of pranking me a little bit, because I've been talking about that for years. Problems in Vajrayana teachings.
Well, is it problematic to be slow automatically, or can you take Vajrayana at a slower pace? No, genuine question.
Genuine question.
I'm asking for a friend, by the way.
Right. So when practices are not taught well, people simply don't understand what they're learning. Like if the instruction itself is too hasty, it doesn't have enough context, doesn't have enough details, students won't get it. It's as simple as that. So this is like basic pedagogical issue. I'm kind of on a slow start today. I went and took a walk and jog that I haven't done in a while, and I feel completely tired, exhausted. But I'll try to get my engine started. What else? So that's definitely a big problem. Another problem is the understanding of the view. It is very difficult to find good presentations about what emptiness means. And that is a big one. Because you do need to understand what emptiness means in order to practice pretty much any Buddhism effectively. So that is a really, really big one. And like in Buddhism, what is emphasized is first to understand the theory, the view. Then you learn practices, whatever they are, and then you have result that removes ignorance and reveals a basic state full of wisdom and compassion. But what if you don't even get the view right? So that alone it's a huge problem. Sometimes, if you search YouTube videos or written texts about what emptiness means, it's like, this is so bad. Why is that? Why is it difficult for even experienced teachers to not understand emptiness? That is because they don't have, unfortunately, they don't have excellent practices that take them to that empty nature of mind easily. This is a point that I keep saying all the time. So, we do need, yesterday I was talking about the pure mind and the impure mind. So we do need to get from here, there, on a daily basis, not just every now and then, one moment in a month or once in 6 months, glimpsing it, then it's gone already. Not like that. That's the slow Vajrayana. If we don't understand what we are supposed to do with the practices, that we're supposed to go through the external, internal, and secret, like this, then we are on the slow Vajrayana path. Then if we do get it, if we do understand what this selfless, empty, basic state is, then it's fast. Going to that secret Ati Yoga, nature of mind, great perfection on daily basis. That's really all that matters. And if that box is not checked, if practitioners, teachers don't have that, it is reflected on the whole culture. This ignorance about the basic state is reflected on everything. It spreads into everything. What does that mean? Well, there is too little light in the mind, which means that it is difficult to have harmony in the sanghas with practices that don't deliver. And that is also a big one. Disharmony in practice groups. I'm sure you have heard some horror stories, how it can go. But that's a big one. Harmony in sanghas. There is this, it's not a concept created by myself, but there is this concept of angry Buddhists. Angry Buddhists. So you might have people who have practiced for 30, 40, even 50 years, and then they are really angry. Or, they might be kind of peaceful and calm most of the time, but then something happens and they become like raging maniacs. I literally know people like that who practiced 50 years professionally, to whom it happens. After 5 decades of practice, that's a really big problem. Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen after 20 years of practice. So it is, to me, when I look at this situation, it is a direct indication that there is not enough access from this impure mind to this pure mind and back. Oof. Really difficult matters. Really painful also. I always kind of feel painful when I talk about this because, it feels awful to see and awful to know that there is so much sincerity with people, at least to begin with. Some are able to keep that sincerity over years and decades, but then there is like some kind of dirtying, getting becoming dirty that happens, that, you know, somebody who's sincere comes to a meditation in introduction, and then learns some kind of practice and does that practice, and then, you know, originally that person might want to just become a Buddha, just become fully enlightened. But then before you know it, you've been counting your breath for 3 years. You've been doing something else that hasn't even given you a one major breakthrough experience. So you're still stuck with the I, and thoughts bouncing back and forth, identifying with the I. So you still have the same problem existentially. But what happens is doctrination. You know, you become a fan of biographies of teachers. You become a fan of the tradition that has been passed on for thousands of years. You become a fan of wearing robes. You become a fan of doing vows and ceremonies and rituals. You become a fan of the whole thing. But internally, not much change. You still have those self-based reactions happening day and night. Why? Because it is not understood what the basic principles of Buddhism are. It is absolutely shocking to me. Absolutely shocking. So what I was saying was that, you know, somebody might be very sincere and have a goal of enlightenment in this life in the beginning, but then you kind of get involved with the whole thing and get indoctrinated. So in few years you're just caught up with all these things you're a fan of, and then you have your energy is wasted like that. Your life is wasted like that, just like everybody else in samsara. But then you think that you are practicing Dharma. That's the most dangerous thing. That's really, really, really dangerous. Where will that lead? You will live your life perhaps imagining that you are really grasping the reality as it is. You believe that because you're practicing Dharma that has been passed on for thousands of years. But you're still a person who sees everything in two. So basically you live the rest of your life being miserable, and then you take rebirth. Where will such practice lead you to take rebirth? Because that's karma. Karma keeps accumulating all the time, all the time. It's absolutely heartbreaking situation.
It's spiritual bypassing, Kim, effectively.
Well, yes, spiritual bypassing is part of the situation. But spiritual bypassing strictly means that, well, yeah, you can kind of unknowingly do that, or knowingly bypass your not addressing your baggage.
And the opposite of this situation is effective practice. You come to the practice angry, ignorant, deluded, suffering, and with effective practice and you reveal that you get to the heart of your suffering, and it might be volatile, it might be difficult, it might be uncomfortable, it might be messy, but you will get this sense of, you'll get to the bottom, you'll get beyond the anger, you'll get to the roots, and you'll actually transform your karma, and so that's the opposite of what you explained is actually is proper practice. Yeah.
And that's the proper practice. And what is really great is that uh, we don't necessarily have to do tantric practice for the practice to be very effective. This is the there is immense blessings in taking refuge to the three jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. It reveals the three bodies of enlightenment, the three kaya, the Buddha bodies. So, you know, all Mahayana Buddhists take refuge in three jewels, have bodhisattva vows, commonly express veneration and devotion to Shakyamuni Buddha and other Buddhas, and also the lineage of masters from today until Shakyamuni Buddha and even before him. So, we know because we practice, I've told you to pay attention to energetic charges and blessings. So to us, it's, everyday knowledge. But if in Mahayana Buddhism practitioners, Pure Land Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, what is that? Tendai Buddhism. It's Tendai Buddhism, Nichiren Buddhism, Chan Buddhism, of course, from China. In any of those, non-tantric Mahayana, if they paid attention to energy and the charges that is there in their everyday practice, it would change everything. It changed my life completely. That was the only change I made in the beginning when I shifted from Zen to Tantra. So there is an energetic component, very strong component with all Buddhist practice. But whether it is known to be there and whether it is recognized and taken in, it's a different matter. But sometimes I have even sometimes kind of contemplated in my mind that I could perhaps write a manual or a little book about Mahayana practice that is non-tantric. So just making it really clear that about receiving blessings and about practices such as dynamic concentration. And people would have two-part formula and dynamic concentration. People would have awakening experiences doing such practice. Yeah, so it's possible to do that non-tantrically, but in Pemako we do it tantrically, which just means that you kind of empowerment. What it does is that it sets your course really, that it sets your course, your way in a perfect manner, so that you don't start going left or right, you go straight ahead. So you get a lot of help from the masters of the lineage, the founder of the lineage, and that help is what the deities are. When we practice the deities, you are perhaps meditating Avalokiteshvara or some other deity, but that still do because of Guru Rinpoche why that help is there. I kind of lost my point in this. I forgot where I started. Oh yes, now I remember. You were talking about effective practice. So in different types of Vajrayana manuals, there are actually, I remember we talked about Daniel Brown, and I remember Daniel Brown saying at a couple of interviews that, you know, that it's possible to attain Buddhahood in about 7 years. I think this is a Bön Buddhist statement. You know, Bön is the originally shamanistic religion of Tibet, and then Bön became influenced by Buddhism when Buddhism arrived in Tibet, and that's why you have Bön Buddhism. And Daniel Brown is Chokchen practitioner of the Bön Buddhist lineage. So I've heard him quote some Bön manual that says that it's possible to attain Buddhahood in 7 years. He has also said that if you really squeeze it, it's possible to do it in 2 years. Well, I think two is kind of that's, well, I'll believe it when I see it. But to think of somebody who starts from no bhumis open at all, no awakening, completely dualistic, and then somehow that person would become a Buddha in 2 years. I just think it would be so hard for the body also that I doubt that a bit. But 7 years, 6, 7, 8 years, that's doable, I think. If those boxes are checked. If the practice is of excellent quality. If it really focuses on the heart of the matter and not about other stuff. So that the practitioner doesn't end up spending time and energy on the other stuff. Oh, sometimes I've heard like people say that, well, if you really want to learn Buddhism, then you need to learn the language of the country where the particular tradition comes from. Like you have to learn Tibetan or Japanese or Chinese to really get it. How long does it take to learn a language well? So you're on the your mission is to get enlightened, to become a Buddha, but then after 6 years of learning Japanese, you realize that, heck, I got a bit distracted here. That would be very unfortunate. But it is really simple, isn't it? It is not difficult at all to glimpse and to have these awakening experiences, major breakthroughs, known by different names in different Buddhist lineages and traditions. It is not complex at all, it is not difficult at all to get from samsaric mind to this pure Buddha mind. Not at all complex. And I think that this is the gift of the Pemako method. That there's no wasting time.
What is interesting with Daniel Brown is that he also is super clear on all the practices, and he has a map. Like there is like very clearly how you like what is supposed to happen, and this step by step. Like we have the boomies, and yeah, he used different map, but still there is this like very clear mapping. But I wonder, like you said, 2 years. I had the impression that those 2 years would take you to like stable Rigpa, but then further on there would be Buddhahood. But I'm not sure. Like I've heard both that 7 years and the 2 years, but I've been unsure what he meant. If it was like full
Right.
Buddhahood or just one of these steps.
Well, there are other sources that say that it would be possible in 2 years.
Mm. Mm.
Well, anything is possible hypothetically, but when we talk about methods, we having a method means that you have more than one person. To validate a method means that one person, one case doesn't validate a method. Like if we talk about give an average of full enlightenment being attained in X number of years, one case is not enough. You need several to make such a claim. So somebody might be able to do it in a week, hypothetically, but unless there are others doing it in a week, you can't make such an average.
I remember Lama Lena, she talked about there is a name in Tibetan about this person that gets pointing out and then gets the whole thing at once, and then rainbows or something. And she claimed she had met one such person that had a dream of Guru Rinpoche and then slowly kind of found another Rinpoche, had the pointing out, and then kind of taking it all in. So there you have less than a week, I guess.
But I think that also, this is a really important point to what I was talking that, when the pure mind Buddha nature is not accessed on regular basis, what kind of problems it creates. And samsaric mind in that case, samsaric minds of those involved with Dharma, it starts infiltrating things. There are kind of subtle opinions start to reach, start to become truths, start to become facts, start to get a place in the tradition. Ooh, that's a dangerous one. And I think that whole secretive hush-hush culture, and I don't mean like in Vajrayana Buddhism from Tibet, there is some things that practitioners don't talk about. They only talk about certain things with their lamas. That I think is fine. But if the whole culture, whether in Tibet or in other countries or in any of established Buddhism, is kind of hush-hush about the actual thing, the awakening experiences, and whether or not Buddhahood is attained by anybody, why does that happen? If it happened to everybody, it would make sense that people would talk about it completely openly, right? But that is not the case. And that is a very dangerous, very very problematic point, because then the whole thing becomes kind of murky and unclear. Did you heard that that guy, he had awakening experience 3 months ago on a retreat? Really? Couldn't have had. It's like this. And of course there is also, people get jealous when there's somebody who magically has one boomy opening every now and then. Others get jealous because they are not having it. So it's like a whole bundle of non-pragmatic Dharma. Unclear, spoiled by human samsaric thinking. But there is an option. There is an option of, first of all, returning or remaining sincere and honest about what I am doing as a practitioner, what the whole Sangha is doing, because if everybody remembers to keep oneself honest and sincere, that goes a long way. And this also means that we are honest and sincere about what we are and what we aren't attaining. Being honest about the fruit or the lack of it. And this is it's like a, how do you say, like an elephant in the room in most of Buddhism. And interestingly, you know, as a side note, when it comes to, you know, opening of the first bhumi mostly, it's from outside the tradition of Dharma, whether Buddhist Dharma or Hindu Dharma, where there is much more knowledge and much more openness than in established dharmas. I mean, like, what is that Robert from Sweden, he always mentions? Just One Look by John Sherman. They have statistics of a couple of thousand people getting that first awakening. Then there is Liberation Unleashed. They must have 5,000 already by now, if not more, who have awakened. And then there are people like, well, there might not be method to share, but then there are people like Eckhart Tolle, who speaks about awakening with Oprah in television. In as lucidly as he can, as he's able to. So tens of millions of people hear it. I wish there was somebody doing exactly the same thing in Buddhism, offering the method. Here's how to do that. But it's pretty hush-hush. Partially because, you know, there's no clarity how to get there. There's even like a, you know, most Buddhists don't have techniques for generating awakening. So there has been for generations, different masters have said that there is no definite technique to generate awakening. So, but this is just, might be the case in their tradition, but it's not the case universally. There are practices like that. So it is very necessary to remove that murkiness created by samsaric mind, by self, on individual level, in sanghas, particular sanghas, and also do our best to have some effect, some of that positive effect, also culturally. For the sake of all sentient beings. I sometimes feel that, well, this is kind of just like in my most frustrated moments, I've thought that, you know, maybe it would be better to just completely, you know, not use the word Buddhism when talking about Pema, kind of just really be separate from the whole Buddhist tradition, because it's kind of like the dying dinosaur. It's already 95% dead. So how can you resuscitate it? Very difficult. So maybe it would be easier to just start a new thing. But doing that, would be difficult, because after all we have Guru Rinpoche as the founder, we have Yeshe Tsogyal, we speak of emptiness, we speak of gurus and all these things, so there is also a strong link to the tradition through Guru Rinpoche. I got feedback yesterday that from Kaisa that I was asking that, what was it? I was asking that, is there too little of talking? Do you feel that there should be more talking on this retreat? And she said that no, there's too little of practice. So I apologize for having taken your time for another 50 minutes. Let's take a 5-minute toilet break and then continue practice. Thank you all for listening this preach.